Something is seriously wrong with Brazil, and Morocco just exposed it. Let me paint you a picture. The five-time world champions, the most successful nation in the history of football, the country that gave us Pelé, Ronaldo, and Ronaldinho, walking into a brand new stadium in New Jersey on American soil as one of the biggest favorites to win this entire World Cup. And by the end of the night, they were hanging on for dear life, saved only by a miracle goalkeeping save in the dying seconds, lucky to escape with a single point. Brazil 1-1 Morocco. And if you think that scoreline tells the story, you're missing the entire point. Because what happened in that stadium on Saturday night wasn't just a draw, it was an exposure, a revelation, a flashing red warning sign that something is genuinely, seriously wrong with this Brazil team. And here's the part American fans are going to love. While the USA was busy putting 4 goals past Paraguay and looking like a team on a mission, Brazil, the so-called untouchable favorites, were getting bullied by an African team that most casual fans couldn't have placed on a map 5 years ago. So grab a seat, because this is the story of how the mighty Brazil got humbled, what it tells us about their World Cup chances, and why the rest of the tournament should be paying very close attention. The favorites who forgot to show up. Let's set the scene properly. This game was billed as a heavyweight clash. Number 6 Brazil and 7th-ranked Morocco are the only top 10 teams to meet in the first round of the expanded 48-nation World Cup tournament, BBCI. 2 of the best teams in the world, drawn together in the group stage. On paper, it should have been close, but nobody, and I mean nobody, expected what actually unfolded in the opening half hour. Morocco didn't just compete with Brazil, they dominated them. Completely, utterly. They made the 5-time champions look ordinary, slow, and confused. And the stats back it up in a way that's almost embarrassing for Brazil. Morocco had 12 shots within the opening 30 minutes, more than the Brazilian side had conceded in any of their previous 6 full World Cup matches. AOL, read that one more time. In just 30 minutes, Morocco created more shooting chances against Brazil than Brazil had given up in any complete World Cup game they'd played. That is not a minor wobble. That is a total system failure from one of the most talented squads on the planet. The goal that embarrassed a nation. The goal that put Morocco ahead was a thing of beauty, and it exposed everything wrong with Brazil in one devastating move. Morocco got off to a blistering start when Brahim Diaz picked up a loose ball in midfield to thread a perfect pass between 2 of the best centre-backs in world football, Gabriel and Marquinhos, towards Ismael Saibari. Between 2 of the best centre-backs in the world. That's the key detail. This wasn't a defensive lapse by some weak link. Morocco carved open the very heart of Brazil's defence, splitting 2 world-class defenders with a single pass. And then came the finish that made the whole stadium gasp. The midfielder collected, settled his nerve, and stood up Alisson before dinking the ball over him. It was a real show of composure and class. Ismael Saibari, calm as you like, lifted the ball delicately over Alisson, one of the best goalkeepers on earth, to put Morocco ahead. A semi-finalist 4 years ago, Morocco dominated early, and Ismael Saibari put the African champions ahead in the 21st minute. BBCI. The most successful African nation in World Cup history was beating Brazil, and they fully deserved it. The one man who saved Brazil's blushes. Now, every disaster story needs a hero who stops it from becoming a catastrophe. For Brazil, that man was Vinicius Junior, and credit where it's due, his goal was absolutely spectacular. Vinicius exchanged passes with Bruno Guimaraes on the left flank, took touches to make space, and rifled a right-footed shot past the outstretched arm of Yassine Bounou for his 10th international goal. BBCI. Vinicius Junior cut inside and bent a wonderful equalizer in the top corner against the run of play. Against the run of play. That phrase tells you everything. Brazil weren't earning this goal through dominance. They were being outplayed, and one moment of individual brilliance from their best player bailed them out. And this is where the story takes a fascinating turn, because there's a stat about Vinicius that perfectly captures how unusual this night was. This is the first game in which Vinicius Junior has scored for Brazil, which has not ended in victory. The previous 8 occasions all helped secure a win. 8 times before this, Vinicius scored, and Brazil won every single time. This was the first time his goal wasn't enough. The first crack in a perfect record. Almost like the universe was sending a message about exactly how off this Brazil team really was. As one analysis put it perfectly, Brazil, so often dubbed a team of individuals, needed one of their most talented to dig them out of a hole against a side who appeared more complete overall. Al Jazeera, a team of individuals against a side who appeared more complete. That's the whole story of modern Brazil in one sentence. Brilliant talents, but not a functioning team. And on Saturday, a well-organized Morocco exposed that gap brutally. The save that stole a point. Here's the part that should genuinely scare Brazil fans. They didn't even deserve the point they got. They were one moment away from an outright defeat, and only an incredible piece of goalkeeping saved them. Morocco nearly went back ahead in the 9th of 10 minutes of stoppage time. Alisson spilled Neil Alainawi's long-range shot, which was headed wide. Then, while on the grass, leaned back toward the goal and used his right hand to block Ayoube Amaimuni's follow-up effort. B-B-C-I. Picture it. Deep into stoppage time, Brazil hanging on. Alisson fumbles a shot. The rebound falls to a Morocco player, and somehow, sprawled on the ground, Alisson throws out a desperate right hand to claw the ball away from the line. That save was the difference between a draw and a humiliating defeat. It was a late Alisson intervention that ensured the points were shared after a cautious second half from both Brazil and Morocco. If Alisson doesn't make that save, we're talking about Brazil losing their World Cup opener. And get this. Brazil managed to extend its unbeaten streak in World Cup openers to 21, including 17 wins, since a 1934 loss to Spain. A streak going back to 1934 nearly ended on Saturday night. Brazil hasn't lost a World Cup opener in over 90 years, and Morocco came within one goalkeeper's fingertips of ending that streak. That's how close the Giants came to falling. The manager admits it himself. You know it's bad when the manager openly admits there's a problem. And Carlo Ancelotti, one of the most decorated and experienced coaches in football history, did exactly that. Brazil manager Carlo Ancelotti says he's worried with the start. Al Jazeera. Worried. That's the word from a man who has won everything in club football, who has seen everything, who doesn't panic easily. When Ancelotti says he's worried, you listen. And he wasn't the only one in the Brazil camp acknowledging the problems. Even Vinicius himself, the hero of the night, didn't sugarcoat it. "We started on a really bad note," Vinicius said through a translator. "For certain, we got to hold on to the ball. We have to move better." BBC. We started on a really bad note. We have to move better. That's the goal scorer, the man who saved his team, admitting they played badly. When your best player and your legendary manager are both publicly acknowledging that something's wrong after just one game, you know the concerns are real. Ancelotti even made a telling decision at half-time. Brazil head coach Carlo Ancelotti sent on Danilo and Fabinho for Roger Ibanez and Casemiro at half-time, removing two players who had been booked. A double half-time substitution in your opening World Cup game is not the sign of a manager who's happy with what he's seeing. Bolivip. Why Morocco is the real story. Let's give Morocco their flowers, because they earned every bit of this. This wasn't a fluke, or Brazil simply having an off day. Morocco is a genuinely excellent team that's been building toward this for years. Remember, this is the team that shocked the world in 2022. The Qatar 2022 semi-finalists became the first African nation to reach the last four, and anyone who thought that run was a one-time miracle just got a rude awakening. Goal. Morocco were full of beans in the first period, and then showed their steel by digging in the second. They have every chance of going far if such balance can be maintained. Al Jazeera. That balance, explosive attacking early and disciplined defending late, is the hallmark of a team that knows exactly who they are. Brazil, by contrast, looked like a collection of superstars still trying to figure out how to play together. There was even one individual Moroccan performance that perfectly summed up the difference in intensity between the two teams. Ismael Saibari, in addition to scoring the opening goal against Brazil, applied 100 pressures, equaling the most by any player in a single match at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The man scored the goal and ran himself into the ground, pressing Brazil all over the field. That's hunger, that's desire, that's everything Brazil seemed to be missing. What this means for Brazil's World Cup. So let's get to the big question. Is Brazil actually in trouble, or is this just one bad day that gets forgotten? Here's the honest answer. It's a warning, and a serious one. Brazil still has incredible talent. Vinicius is world-class. Alisson is elite. The squad is deep with quality. On paper, they remain one of the favourites to win this whole thing. But football isn't played on paper. And what we saw on Saturday was a team that doesn't yet function as a unit. A collection of brilliant individuals who can be out-organised, outworked, and outthought by a team with a clearer identity and more collective hunger. There's also the elephant in the room. Brazil is missing players. Defender Eder Militao with a thigh injury, winger Willian Estevao with a hamstring, and forward Rodrigo with a knee injury missed out on the finals through injury. And their biggest name of all, Neymar, still isn't fit. Neymar is still not fit enough to play. Bolavi Paul. Those absences matter. But every team deals with injuries, and the great teams find a way to win anyway. Brazil, on this evidence, hasn't found that way yet. And here's the kicker for the group. Scotland took advantage of the points dropped by edging Haiti 1-0 in the second Group C game. So while Brazil dropped points, other teams in the group are picking up wins. The margin for error just got smaller. Al Jazeera, the verdict. Beware the wounded giant, but watch closely. So where does this leave us? Let me give you the complete, honest picture. Brazil is not finished. Far from it. A wounded giant is still a giant, and the most dangerous version of Brazil might just be the one that gets angry after being embarrassed like this. They have the talent to flip a switch and tear teams apart. Vinicius alone is capable of deciding any match on the planet. But the cracks are real. The defensive vulnerability is real. The lack of cohesion is real. And the fact that Ancelotti himself is worried tells you this isn't just paranoia from the outside. For American fans watching this tournament, here's the bottom line. The big, scary favourites aren't as scary as the hype suggested. Brazil looked beatable. Genuinely beatable. And in a tournament where the USA is flying high and full of confidence, that's a beautiful thing to see. The five-time champions came to America as one of the favourites, and in their very first game, a hungry, organised, fearless Morocco team showed the entire world that this Brazil side has serious, serious problems. The giants can be beaten. Morocco just proved it, and the rest of the World Cup just got a whole lot more interesting. If you want the most honest breakdown of every big result, every shock, and every favourite that stumbles at this World Cup, hit subscribe right now. We're calling it exactly like we see it. No hype, no bias, just the truth. Drop a comment below. Is Brazil actually in trouble, or will they bounce back and win it all? And after what you saw against Morocco, do you think anyone can stop the USA's momentum? I read every single comment. This is the World Cup breakdown. I'll see you in the next one.